make pots and mold it, or sitting next to the path trying to unfold it, or waiting for the fruits to fall down toward you, let it go and now you.
Good morning and happy Sunday, friends. Welcome to Throop Worship. Just a few Zoom reminders. You'll be muted for most, but not all of today's service. Please use the chat box throughout today's time together, just as a way to build connections, community, and strengthen friendships among one another. A special thanks this morning to Aaron Bray, who is our chat box greeter. You'll probably see him sending you hello messages this morning. And as always, if there's some sort of internet gremlins who enter into our space and make things stop, that's just our opportunity to take a breath and look around us, and soon enough we would be back together in this space. So come fully now into our online space of hope and love, of peace and justice, of wholeness and healing. Come in where we welcome the certain and the seeking, the lifers and the newcomers, the beloved and the brokenhearted. All of you can find a home here at Throop, where we go love the world from the heart of Pasadena and from the very heart of our homes. Today's an extra special Sunday because we are celebrating our You, the Vote efforts. Today during worship, we'll enjoy music and a call to action and a special homily from our national You, the Vote team. Part of our national effort has been writing letters to folks who are registered but who don't have a history of voting consistently. And if you would like to join, it's very simple. You can do it from home. It doesn't take a long time. There's an organization called Vote Forward, and they have these voter lists, and they print out names and addresses and a sample of this letter that you send to people. And all you do is write, dear whoever, you write in why you feel like it's important to vote this year. And you sign it, put it in an envelope and send it. Vote Forward is trying to send 10 million of these letters. And we do so as a way, as Unitarian Universalists, to live out our values. And we know that voting is just one way that we can help create a more just and sacred society. So now, as much as you're able, kind of turn away from any outside distractions, turn toward one another. Just like take a gentle breath as we move across the threshold into our shared sacred space.
Our time together in worship is intimately connected with our daily lives. As a symbol of that connection, we light 3 flames this morning. We light our home chalices in the spirit of love, hope, and peace. We light a second candle to honor the people and the ancestors whose lands we have now occupied. The land under and around Throop was once and is still the home of the Tunga people. May this knowledge and awareness lead us into seeking justice and equity for all. We light a third candle symbolizing our hopes and bearing witnesses to injustices in the world. We take a moment of silence, holding all these in our hearts. These flames remind us that while we are separated, we are not alone. Separate yet connected, we continue the work of the church, nurturing one another, tending our own spiritual growth, reaching out beyond us to the larger community. May these flames remind us that through our shared commitment to justice, another world is possible.
Thank you, Paula. Paula has been a part of our local Throop UU the Vote team who meet every Thursday at 5 to write these letters. And this coming Thursday is their last time together because all of these millions of letters that people are writing from around the United States will be sent as part of a big send on October 17th. You still have time to do even 5 letters will make a difference. So now I invite you to continue to turn toward each other in the chat box, welcome each other into this space. If you haven't done so yet, you might move your video view in the gallery view and just really take a moment of intention to look at the thumbnail videos of those who have gathered, look at the names if someone's video isn't on, and just send your own little silent welcome, love, and blessing to those who are gathered here. So Denise says, thank you, Paula, and all who are UUing the vote. Denise herself is very active in political outreach and getting people engaged. Erin lifts up that if today is your first time or second time visiting Throop, welcome, welcome, and please reach out to him especially and introduce yourself. Steve says, good morning, everyone, and think about that in Robin Williams' voice. A happy Day of the Girl, yes, and coming out day from Rachel, Dave, and Ripley. Paula says, good morning. Sky wishes a big embrace of love to all who need extra personal care. And I'm going to take my own moment because I don't always get to do this on Sunday to move into gallery view. And I am going to look at all of your beautiful faces and be so glad to see your smiles and Sky waving. George with his hat on, Melanie's waving. Yeah, everybody wave at me while I'm looking at you. This is awesome. I see Kate, hello, and Jim, and Denise's hand. Michael, yay, with the sign that says Florida vote, amen. And then I see some names on the screen, folks who I haven't met yet, but I'm really happy you're here and hope to get to know you in some way. Yeah, again, welcome. Well, one of the connective threads at Throop is our promise to our planet. And we say it each week, words that bind us together as troopers, and words that remind us of our shared commitment to planet Earth and to all who live on Earth. So please unmute yourself as we say these words together. As members
of the family of living beings on Earth, we are guided by the Unitarian Universalist principle of respect, interdependent web of all existence, of which we are a part. with hearts filled with love for eyes nurtured by its beauty, and minds ruminating on ways to protect its sacred, scarce resources. Promise to nurture the well-being of all life and planet itself.
You can, if you would, re-mute yourself or thank you. Thank you. And as we've greeted one another, as we have renewed our promise to our planet, I invite you into a space of just some intentional breathing, a moment of shared stillness. I know even in these times when we're safer at home, there might be so much swirling around you, so many things to do, that even now it might be hard to find a moment where you're just kind of being for a few moments in the world. And if that is true for you, this is your chance. So if it feels right for you, maybe do a little kind of body connection, put your hand on your heart. And take just a gentle breath in, feeling this soft morning air move in and then moving out of your body. And if it feels right for you to close your eyes or soften your gaze, please do that. And again, just to be mindful of your breath, of your body in this space, this body that is moving you through this time in the world just the best it can, maybe with some aches and grumbles of its own, but here you still are. And it will support you in whatever is coming your way. Breath of life and love, thank you. Thank you for awakening us into this day and into this moment when we can be together. We hold the importance of being able to acknowledge the wholeness and holiness in each and every person and being we come across. Today, we lift up in gratitude this National Coming Out Day, this reminder of how important it is that each one of us can be fully who we want and need to be in this world. We celebrate in our hearts those who have been able to come out and feel the affirmation of their loved ones, their family and friends. And we also hold the knowledge that there are still some who don't feel that they can publicly be all of who they are. And we just hold them in care and love, honoring wherever they need to be in their personal journey at this time. We hold in our hearts those in the world who are suffering from the impact of COVID-19, whether it is people who have it, people who are caring in some way for loved ones. And we also lift up those who are working in the health profession and who are essential workers at this time in the world. Knowing always that there are those among us who are in need of a little extra love and care and healing energy. I ask you to bring into your mind and heart just someone someone in your circle of care who you know needs a little extra something today. We put our collective Throop healing and loving energy toward whoever it is in our wider circle that's in need of a little boost. I invite you to put those names in the chat box. The names of maybe yourself, maybe a friend or a family member. And if you have kind of closed your eyes for this moment of stillness, this is a time you can open them, and as you see the names, kind of send some of your energy that way. We see Natalie as Terry's student, Alexander, who has pneumonia. Sky lifts up in the chat a loving note in the spirit and National Day of Coming Out that Sky identifies as bisexual. If anyone wants to share their own thoughts or experience or anything related to this with Sky, even questions, that Sky is really open and warmly available. Blessings. Denise lifts up prayers of healing for Joshua, Denise, and Mike. They have tested positive for COVID. I hope, Denise, it was okay for me to say that. And then also her dear friend, Jean. Brian, who went to Arizona to care for a friend in hospice. We send love and healing to Ian and Red, Caroline. Matthew reminds us we send love to all of our trans and non-binary siblings. Francis's sister Grace, Shannon and her family. Thank you, Chris. And Denise lets us know they don't test positive anymore, but they're holding a lot of stress right now. So for all of these names, relationships, for all of these people who we carry in our hearts, who now by virtue of having their names brought into our circle of care, are part of the threads of this community. And we send out our love and healing energy. And for all that is our life, we give our thanks and our praise. Amen. So thank you for continuing to tend to one another over in the chat. As I mentioned at the beginning of the service, today's a special service honoring our You the Vote efforts. We're about to move into that section of today's service, and we'll hear voices and stories from people from our You the Vote team. And we have our own local team. Paula Trubisky has been part of that. And I'd like to thank Liz Murphy, our intern minister, for heading up our local efforts so faithfully. So now I think Matthew's gonna move us into a call to action, music, a homily, and some more music by our You the Vote team. I hope you enjoy it.
Hi, I'm Nicole Presley, National Organizer of You the Vote, and I'm so honored to be a part of You the Vote and a part of this special worship service. By this time, you've probably gotten used to virtual worship. You've made sure your computer is charged, you've searched your email for Zoom links, or you've scrolled through your social media feed for the live stream. But from whatever platform you're entering worship today, you are in sacred space. Getting here was not easy. Remember the spring? Remember, many of us had to learn new skills and to stretch ourselves and maybe our internet speed to continue to gather with our beloved faith community. We learned Zoom, we downloaded apps, and we reached out for help to be with one another. Transformation is always a stretch, and we need to bring that same energy to this year's election. In the past few months, I have witnessed amazing things from all of you. We created a goal to reach out to 1 million voters, and we are almost there. We stretched ourselves. We stretched ourselves to get on another Zoom call, to learn to text voters, phone bank, and send postcards. We learned how to be vulnerable and have critical conversations with members of our communities. UUs, we are not just a faith community that believes another world is possible, but we are a community that is willing to act to make that world a reality. We have a legacy of showing up, and we know that our victories are never guaranteed, and we know that those victories are never won by those in power ceding it willingly. The people imagined it, the people demanded it, and we, the people, gathered to make it so. In all of our movements, the stakes were high. But instead of mobilizing out of the fear of defeat, we have organized out of a sacred calling to build a world that we know is possible. That is why nonpartisan work is not just important, but is absolutely revolutionary. We come together to learn, to create, and to put into practice ways of being towards our collective liberation. That is our victory. And as the chant goes, I believe that we will win. I believe that together, through sacred and sustained work, now and beyond November, we can call forth a world that moves towards our collective liberation. But we must all show up to vote love in 2020. That means showing up to the work that is needed, not just the work that is comfortable. That means showing up in service and in solidarity to combat a simple campaign of voter suppression and intimidation. That means recognizing that white supremacy and capitalism are the technologies through which political agency and democracy are stripped from marginalized communities. So when I say vote love, I don't just mean voting our values, although I absolutely want you to do that if you are able. I don't just mean showing up to voter contact work, even though I absolutely want everyone to join into this work. I mean centering the oppressed, working to free them all, to defend Black lives, to fight for climate justice and healthcare for all, for reproductive justice, and for safe and thriving schools and communities. I mean continuing whatever work is necessary to make sure every ballot is counted and that the results and will of the people are respected. We have important choices to make in 2020, but if we are to really vote love and defeat hate in 2020, we must also commit to continue to side with love every single day after November 3rd and into 2021. If you are in it for the long haul, if you believe that another world is possible because you are gathered in a community that puts faith into action, if you are ready to stretch beyond November 3rd to protect democracy, join us. Take the Vote Love Pledge to join a team that is organizing to take action in this election and ready to mobilize after November 3rd for the work ahead. Join me. Take your phone out, text, pledge love to 51555 to take the pledge today, or go online at uuthevote.org. We need everyone in this work. Thank you for finding your role in this work. Thank you for doing it with joy and hopefulness. And thank you for joining UU the Vote. Let's make sure love always wins.
Hey folks, I'm gonna pause the share for just a second to turn the volume up just a smidge.
please join me in singing hymn number 131, Love Will Guide Us. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. You can change the world with your love. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. You are like no other being. What you can give, no other can give. To the future of our precious children, to the future of the world where we live. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. You can change the world with your love.
I was 13 years old when I became a Unitarian Universalist. I was raised in this faith, but I was 13 when I claimed it as my own. It was a Sunday afternoon, and I was waiting for my parents to finish their committee meetings after service. All the other kids had left, and I was bored. I wandered into the visitor's corner, and a little red wallet card caught my eye. It said in bold letters on the front, "What do Unitarian Universalists believe?" My 13-year-old self wondered, what do Unitarian Universalists believe? As I read the 10 statements written by the Reverend David O. Rankin, in my heart, in my soul, as I read those words, I said, yes, this is what I believe. One phrase in particular planted itself in me like the deepest truth, and I never forgot it. We believe in the motive force of love. It was in that moment when I knew that this was my religion. I start with this story to ground the work of UU the Vote in our theology, which is its foundation and its inspiration. This year marks the 250th anniversary of what we celebrate as the beginning of universalism in the United States. It was on September 30th, 1770, that Universalist John Murray preached his first sermon on this continent. And the truth that I read in that little red wallet card, the truth I've never forgotten, is the message of universalism. 250 years ago, in the context of religious notions of God rooted in punishment, damnation, and the division of humanity between worthy and unworthy, saved and damned, the idea of universal salvation, that God's love is unconditional, that no one is cast out, and that salvation is not individual but collective, was radical and liberating. Universalism proclaimed that humanity was bound together in a common destiny, and that love is the thread that binds each of us to the other. and everyone to creation. Universalists believe that God is love. They also believed in hell. They just believed that it existed here and now on the earth. The great Universalist preacher Hosea Ballou was clear about how politicians and those in power used fear, stoked fear, to protect their greed and corruption and self-interest, and he knew the suffering that resulted from that. Rather than speak of theology in terms of speculative notions of God, Ballou spoke of it in terms of human experience here and now and our relationships to each other. A society that lives out the motive force of love would be one that fosters joy and liberation and thriving for all people. This is the highest calling of our faith as Unitarian Universalists, to live out, defend, and embrace this motive force of love in our lives, in our actions, in our commitments, and in our society. This is why UU the Vote says vote love. Today, in our context, we are witnessing the emboldening and authorization of ideologies rooted not in love and interdependence, but in domination, authoritarianism, and dehumanization. And just to be clear, this is not new. It has a long and deadly history on this continent, going back more than 400 years. And yes, even our Universalist ancestors came from that same lineage of Christian European conquest and limited the vision of universalism only to white society, a limit that we are still trying to redeem ourselves from. It is dehumanization that creates systems that put children in cages, that deny health care to our transgender siblings, that allow police violence and the murder of Black people to continue unabated and without accountability. Dehumanization that allows triage protocols that devalue the lives of disabled people and that lead to systemic divestment from communities, the resources from housing to education, healthcare to jobs, and the criminalization of poverty. Just as Hosea Ballou named it, the tool of dehumanization, its propaganda, is fear. Propaganda that tells us to fear our neighbor, that we are not family and kin, but enemies. This is the exact opposite of our theology of universalism that tells us that we have a common destiny and we are connected to one another in love. This is why UU the Vote says vote love, defeat hate. And while the forces of dehumanization and domination have always been a part of US history, so too have been those who have resisted and organized for the values of dignity, equity, humanity, and love. These days are heartbreaking, they're infuriating, and they're frightening. On days when I lose my own strength, I turn to the words of Alice Walker, who reminds us, we remember our ancestors because it is an easy thing to forget, that we are not the first to suffer, rebel, fight, love, and die. The grace with which we embrace life in spite of the pain and the sorrow is always a measure of what has gone before us. We remember our ancestors, theological, familial, and in movement. We remember Francis, Ellen Watkins Harper, Hosea Ballou, John Brown, Sitting Bull, Ida B. Wells, Dr. King, Anne Braden, and so many more whose names history does not remember. Those who struggled and risked and fought and loved for the principles of justice, equity, liberty. This is why in UU the Vote, we say vote love, we say defeat hate, because dear ones, we are on a precipice. Every single one of our most deeply held values is on the line right now. The current powers in government are showing in everything they do that the inherent worth and dignity of so many immigrants, Black people, disabled folks, trans and queer people does not matter to them. Human agency, interdependence, the democratic process are being disrupted and defiled daily. It is a radical act of faith to not only continue to believe in all of our cherished principles, but to demand them by speaking out, taking risks, organizing, leveraging our resources, and building networks of solidarity and power to protect one another and these values. We are on a precipice, and our actions right now will affect whether we have a chance to continue to bring our bold values forward, to rebuild, expand, and strengthen our democracy, to confront police violence, to upend racial inequity, to change divestment from communities, and make moves to protect the climate. Now is the time to draw on the grace, the courage, and the strength of all those who went before, to widen our comfort zones, and to do all we can to vote, love, and defeat hate. If you haven't taken any form of action yet, sign up for a shift with You the Vote. I can tell you that it's fun. And if you've written postcards to voters, but you feel nervous about phone banking, do it with your fellow UUs. And if you've been all in with You the Vote from the beginning, keep it up and start planning for how you will show up and organize after November 3rd. Because democracy will not be restored in one election. It's been under systemic attack for decades, and justice will not roll down like waters in one election. Voting matters. It's absolutely critical, but it is not the end. It is just one piece of the long haul work of organizing for a future where all are free and where all can thrive. Will you show up in the streets, set up to contribute to a bail or legal assistance fund, open your church building to protesters needing refuge from state repression, tap into your own endowment or discretionary funds to make sure that grassroots organizers have the funds they need for their work? There is so much to do. And our faith calls us to love more radically, to give more generously, to believe more fervently that another world is possible, and be willing to be all in for that future. As you've heard me say many times before, this is no time for a casual faith, no time for a casual commitment to what you hold most dear. And this is no time to go it alone. Friends, we are in this work together. I invite you to be deeper in this work of You the Vote with us. May we remember that we are held by love always. May we remember that we are held by and with one another. And may we all together be all in today, tomorrow, next month, and next year for justice, for love, for democracy, and for a future that is free and thriving for all people. May it be so.
We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these vibes. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we cry. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive in this great turning this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. We shall be known by the company we keep, by the ones who circle round to tend these fires. We shall be known by the ones who sow and reap the seeds of change alive from deep within the earth. It is time now. It is time now that we thrive. It is time we lead ourselves into the well. It is time now, and what a time to be alive. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love. In this great turning we shall learn to lead in love.
Together we thrive. What a great message each and every week for us at Throop. I had already seen Reverend Susan Frederick Gray's homily, so I took that opportunity to listen to it while I did 5 of my own letters for Vote Forward. And there are 41 connections today on the screen. If each one of you decided to adopt 5 voters, we would send in 205 letters just among those of us gathered here at Throop. We continue to remain connected as a church community, even though we are staying safer at home. And that's because each and every one of you have made a commitment to share your time, to share your talent, and to share your treasure. Thank you so much for all of the ways you are showing up for this community, to nurture this circle of care among us, and for the ways you've shown up outside of our church walls to impact the larger world. For those of you who are able to continue your financial commitment at Throop, thank you so much. Now's an opportunity for you to make a donation online. You can donate through our website. We'll put the link to that in the chat box. You can text to give. You can also send a check directly into Throop. I'd like to lift up in gratitude so many who helped make today's service happen. One of those is our tech, Matthew. Thank you so much always for your flawless and calm tech direction here. Thank you, Paula, for offering the words to our chalice lighting. Thank you, Aaron, for your warm welcome in the chat box. Thank you, Liz Murphy, our intern minister, for coordinating our local Throop, the UU, the Vote team. And for all of this, let's lift up our voices and our shared thank you for today's offering. For the ministries of the church
and in our community, we bless our offering of faith and hope.
Sundays are just one way that we connect with one another. This is the gathering that has the most screens. There are other ways to form connections and build community throughout the week. And I encourage you to check your Tuesday tidings, to check Facebook, to check those emails from me. Y'all, they've got good stuff in them. I know I can be a little overwhelming sometimes, but it's only my electronic embrace to you when you see those emails come through with my name on it. If you've lit a chalice at home, I invite you to bring it forward. And we extinguish its flame. We take its light with us always into the world. I love you all. Go out and love the world. Amen. Blessed be. Please feel free to stay here and enjoy some casual chat together after we hear one more piece of music from that amazing music director from UU Chicago.
Was grace and mercy brought me through. I'm living this moment wrapped in love's truth. Hallelujah, my praise is due. 'Twas grace and mercy brought me through. 'Twas grace and mercy